It's 6 o'clock. The January 16th, 2024 regular board meeting is called to order. All school board members are present and all student advisors are present. So, Nancy, would you send the mics, please?
Sure. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for all.
Thank you. We have the agenda before you. Is there a motion to approve the agenda for the January 16th, 2024 regular board meeting? Approved.
Second.
Okay, it was moved by Director King and seconded by Director Foster. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, that passes unanimously. The board has had an opportunity to review the January 2nd, 2024 regular board meeting minutes. Is there a motion to approve the minutes for the January 2, 2024 regular board meeting?
So moved. Second.
Approved by Director Evans and seconded by Director Murray. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say no. Minutes have been approved. Superintendent report, Dr. Rummel.
Wonderful, thank you. Our student advisors will start us off tonight by reading in our donations.
The Stanwood-Camano School District received the following donations: $770.32 from Clement City PTA to cover the transportation costs for field trips to the Stanwood Library, Camano Island Schoolhouse, kayak morning, and Kangaroo Outback Farm.
$1,000 from the Warden Beach Christian Cancer Conference Center in support of the food services program.
$1,500 from St. Aidan's as church in support of the food services program.
Wonderful, thank you. We are grateful for those donations, and President Trevor and I will send a thank you on the board's behalf. We are going to dive right in to our Stanwood High School board report. And so just so that the board is aware, we have each school in our system report annually to the board. And so this is a chance for you to hear a little bit about what is going on. And Principal Washington and I are going to tag team this a little bit. And so we always pause, as you can see on our promise. Nice thing about this particular slide is these are Stanwood High School, either students or alum, and it really brings to light in this picture a little bit of fun and a little bit of celebration, just seeing our students enjoying their day at school. Do you have the clicker, Mike? Okay. Click. There we go. We always like to pause on our educational equity policy, and tonight you're going to hear Mr. Washington talk about the statement that is about halfway through that says ensuring all students and staff have a voice and the resources they need to be successful. So we look forward to hearing about that. Next slide. As the board is aware, when I started as superintendent, we took a look on the board's request at how we did our school improvement plans and shifted to this new process of annual action plans, which we call AAPs. And so the first year, we asked schools to think about what are, based upon their school's data, what are some goals for students and strategies for adults to ensure that our schools were always on an upward trajectory of improving. And we added this year the additional layer of progress monitoring. So this year, we asked each school to identify sort of their non-negotiable goal out of all that they set, and to really dive into monitoring how well that goal was accomplished over the course of the year. And so you're going to hear a little bit about that from Principal Washington today. And that is the next slide. That is the now include progress monitoring. So we'll go to the next slide and I will hand it over to Principal Washington.
Good evening. Thank you, board, for allowing me to present to you today. So look, as Dr. Roman talked about, she talked about the AAP. Each department had a goal that they created. Well, math and English, had a goal that they created. And we're gonna talk about tonight what we created in the staff wheel. So if you look at the data here, it talks about continue to utilize productive struggle and mindset strategies, to stay engaged in math in the classrooms. With these strategies, a lot of the work that the teachers are doing in the classroom with the students, or group work, giving students problems as a group and allowing them to struggle, and not necessarily giving them the process, giving them time to create the process themselves and then check in with them. Another goal that we're doing is continue to provide opportunities for students to receive support outside of classroom. We have a monthly math night. The monthly math night is once a month, and it's from like 2:30 to 4 p.m. where all students that take math can come into either the library or to even the cafeteria to get extra support from math teachers. So that's ongoing. And also, we make sure that we also are at school 7:10 to 7:40 in the morning, and then also 2:10 to 2:40 in the afternoon, so that students have the opportunity to request for additional support there as well in math. Another goal too for math is, we provide explicit instruction. We chunk in lessons into smaller pieces and make it easier for kids to understand. We also note-taking, we're building what is called a building thinking classroom, where problems build in complexity. We had an opportunity to receive some training on that piece last week during a PD session where we were able to really dive deeper into the building thinking classroom with the staff. As Dr. Romer mentioned earlier, we also talked about MTSS supports, multi-tier systems of supports that each department have. We asked each department to come up with 2 things that them as a department will do on a day-to-day basis. One is what we do as an entire school is we greet students at the door. The math department does a Fun Fact Fridays, what they call it. They do group work discussions, as well as each and every classroom that you go into in a math department, they each will have an entry task for students upon entry into the classroom. The next department that we will talk about is English Language Arts Department. They also have their goal was provide frequent repeated exposure to new vocabulary. With those strategies that they're utilizing is provide text provide text at appropriate levels for the students in the classroom. They do these projects called outside reading projects, and also do articles of the week that are due. They give it to them on a Monday and they're due on Friday. Some of the other activities that they do, Quizlet, Kahoots, and things like that within the classroom, so that kids are interactive and learn from each other. Kahoots is like a game, so that's pretty good. Another one of the goals is interaction of new vocabulary with closed reading instruction and practice. This includes introduction, definition, and repeated use. Here they identify words in new readings and explore their meanings. Another thing for English Language Arts is scaffolding. This includes the use of graphic organizers and exit tasks for outside reading program and chunking assignments. They chunk these assignments into small parts so it's easier for students to understand. They do vocabulary development using graphic organizers for students in special needs and also students and multilingual learners, so that they're better able to get the support that they need. They also do peer work, and also they give students a lot of time for collaboration and learning from each other. Again, going back to the MTSS piece, as far as when it comes to identifying 2 specific strategies for the departments, the English department identified reflective and journal writing. Again, as you see this, greeting students at the door, showing interest in their outside activities, and also daily questions is something like when you go into each English department class, you'll see each of these types of activities going on in the classes. One thing I wanted to point out too is, although tonight we're focusing on math and English Language Arts, I wanted to also provide you with some of the strategies that other departments are utilizing within the school as well. So some of these also include showing interest to the outside activities. They do welcoming rituals, warm-up questions, they model greetings and good greetings and goodbyes, which is a good thing. Model respect and kindness, and also engagement in games. And again, as you see right here, one of our standards is greeting students at the door. So this year, we were instructed we had to come up with one goal that we really were going to focus on and do progress monitoring on. We are focusing on multiple tier 1 strategies of support. Why did we choose this goal? It will increase student achievement, learning, and their sense of belonging. So the tier 1 strategies, it covers each and every student, not necessarily students that are in special ed, not necessarily students that are on 5 boards, but each and every student will have the same type of instruction that could be maybe accommodating for these shortened assignments or extra time and those kind of things. So we're really trying to focus those areas to help students learn. Progress monitoring plan. So we collect data during our instructional learning walks. So our instructional learning walks, we do these as administrative team, we do these weekly, but we also, you'll see later, we do these as a leadership team. And also what we've incorporated this year is the goal is to have each and every teacher at least do one instructional learning walk, not only for them, but also for the students as well. So they're looking at improving their instruction as well, getting, like maybe a PE teacher going into a math class or vice versa. So that's what we're doing. So we also focused in on small group instruction. We also learning targets, student talk, formative assessments, and also we focused this year on the first quarter grades. What does this data show? We already kind of talked about student talk. We also work on partner work. Students know where they're learning because we also focus in on learning targets as well as success criteria. We have scaffolding in each classroom. Teachers are doing a really good job of scaffolding. Also frequently checks, teachers checking in frequently with students for understanding. Staff providing immediate feedback so that students can, learn more quickly and better. And also we have a lot of staff when we go into classroom, they're also circling around the classroom, checking in with students for understandings. And also students have some choice in their learning as well. I kind of spoke about the bottom bullet already, bottom statement where we as administrators, we go into classrooms, conducting walkthroughs and providing feedback and those kinds of things, as well as having staff members do the same thing for their own learning. So the next step, we'll continue to do, the leadership team will continue to do learning walks, instructional learning walks. We'll continue to provide in tier 1 instruction to students. We will continue to do Saturday academies. We will continue to do math nights. And one thing that we really are emphasizing more closely right now is emphasizing the time before and after school that staff have available for students can come in for their support. So we're really focusing on that. Okay. Any questions?
I have lots of questions.
Oh.
So at the beginning, you said these were goals for math and English. Did you engage other departments, or was that strictly done in our math and our ELA departments?
Well, from my understanding, when the AAP was created, it was based off of math and ELA. However, other departments were also included in those discussions in creating that, right? So then that's why we created this statement of staff will, so that.
Okay, so they're goals specifically for those areas, but they're supported by all of the staff in the building using similar strategies.
Correct, correct.
Okay. Can you just define for me what a building thinking class is? I don't know what that means.
Well, from what I just learned last week, a building thinking classroom was where you develop, so for instance, thinking about math. And if you come into math classes, they have several different boards where students are able to go to these boards as a group. And then you have a leader of that group at one particular time where this teacher will give this student or this group some problems to do, the teachers step away and then the students will start kind of teaching each other how to do this, right? How to do this problem or for that piece. One thing that I thought was pretty cool, I was in a class last week where there was a timer. Okay, there was a timer. Say I have a marker and they telling me how to do it and I'm writing. As soon as the timer goes off, now I give you the marker. Now you have, so that made everybody, everyone in that class were engaged in that particular activity. So that's what some of that thinking classroom is coming from.
Awesome. Can you define for me what an entry task is? You talked about in the math department.
So an entry task, it could be something as simple as what they did yesterday, and then they give an entry task. It could be, I don't know, I'm just gonna say fraction or something. If they went over fractions yesterday, as soon as the students come in the classroom, it could be something on the board. Okay, take out, here's a problem from yesterday, let's do that, and then an entry task. And while they're doing that, the teacher could be either checking in with other students or taking attendance and things like that. And then they'll go over that when they're done.
Kind of like a warm up.
Yeah, exactly,
Engagement in the classroom.
exactly.
Last thing, can you define for me, like, what is a learning walk? Like, what does that entail?
Oh, okay. Learning walks basically means so it depends on, when we get together as a group, we may say, okay, today we're gonna go and kind of look at and talk about, we want to see what students are, if they're engaging, if they're moving, or, or some of those types of things. So we'll go into a classroom. It could be myself, it could be Dr. Rumba, it could be other teachers. We'll walk into a classroom, we'll take some data, and kind of just look around. We might ask a student, what are you learning today? That's where learning targets and success criteria come from, right? So we'll stay in there for 5 to 10 minutes, then we'll go into another classroom. Then when we're done, we'll come out and we'll kind of debrief on, what did you see? Well, I saw these kids over here were really actively engaged in this activity. When we came over here, these kids right here, they were in a different activity because they might have been at a different level, but that shows us that differentiation is happening in the classroom. That's one word that I struggle with saying, so that's what we do. So that's what we do, that's what we call learning walks, and we're learning from it all at the same time. We use some of that data to help move the school forward, with different next steps that we could use.
Do you like compile that and go back to the teachers like at the end of the day? Do you compile that and talk about it as a larger group like monthly? Like how do you get that feedback back to the?
So we don't necessarily, so a couple of times I have, and my staff too have emailed the teacher and said, we really like how you were doing this, and this. But a lot of times too, we come back with the data and we kind of talk about, okay, what are the next steps that we need to do as a team to help move this school forward, whether that's at its next staff meeting, we create activities to kind of go over those types of things, or we put it in our staff newsletter throughout the week for the next week. So those are the kind of ways that we provide feedback.
I have just a quick question. That was a great presentation, number one. Thank you for that.
Thank you.
Scaffolding. I just don't know. I think of going up a wall. If you could explain, that'd be great.
Oh, that's a tough question. But for scaffolding, I see it as you providing students an example of what it is that you want them to do. So that's kind of like how I look at scaffolding, or kind of showing them as they do it as well, like kind of a step-by-step process. Yeah, that's kind of like how I picture scaffolding.
Interesting vernacular.
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
Anyway, thank you.
I have a question. I know recently you've been doing like the intervention days. Are you planning on keeping those or what's your thought process?
I don't know yet. My thought process is once this week is done, the intervention days, I'll send out some surveys to the staff and get their feedback on it, and kind of decide on what the next steps are. Yeah, so those, they are helpful?
Yeah, they are.
Okay. Okay.
I think, people learn best by having to teach it.
Yeah.
So I like that, and they tend to learn pretty well from their peers there. So I like what you're doing there.
Thank you, sir.
Well, just so everybody knows, this is Mr. Washington's very first ever board presentation at the principal. So well done. I know it's very nerve wracking,
I
so.
need some water.
The mouth gets dry and the words fall out of your brain, so
Yeah,
thank you for that. So we're gonna transition to one of our favorite parts of these presentations, and it is our shining star. So take it away again, Mr. Washington.
Okay, so this shining star that we have to present to the board today is Mr. Trace Johnson. And he was nominated by Mr. Darrell Main, who's a teacher of his. And Mr. Main is also in the audience today as well. So Trace, you can come up for a second. Okay, so I'm gonna read this from Mr. Main. Mr. Main provided this for Trace. Trace is a student who possesses a great deal of talent. He is a student who takes his academics very seriously and gives 100%. Trace has to work hard to be successful in school. He has set goals for his future to attend high school, to attend post-high school education at airplane mechanics. With Trace's determination, effort, will, and drive, I have no doubt he will achieve this goal. During the past 2.5 years of working with Trace in the CTE program, he has shown high character, honesty, reliability, dependability, a great work ethic, and cooperation. His dedication to academics, family, community, and work is outstanding. Trace maintains a positive attitude no matter what he has going on in his life. He has dealt with some tough situations, and even through those situations, his attitude has never changed. It's always positive. This year, Trace's senior year, he has been a savior in my classroom because of his willingness to help our program and others. Daily, he comes to my classroom early to help and work on his skills. I can always count on Trace to be in class. If he's not in class, he has a great reason. Over the past 2 years, Trace has been a role model in many aspects. He gains respect from his peers through his effort, pride in his work, leadership in class, and how he leads his life. Trace is a friend to all and respects everyone he interacts with. Through personal loss and challenges, Trace remains a positive addition to our program. He never accepts that he can't, and he always pushes himself to be the best. Trace's work ethic is second to none. He possesses many talents and has learned life lessons from his grandfather. Working with Trace Johnson over the past 3.5 years has been an honor. I'm ecstatic by Trace's selection for the Shining Star Award, Mr. Darrell Main. And one thing I would just say too, from the first day that I met Trace, he has been nothing but welcoming to me. He's invited me to some of his activities that I'll definitely get to, but he's a special person.
Do you mind if we shake hands? There you go. Congratulations.
Sit on your chair. And you brought somebody with you, you want to introduce?
Yeah, this is my grandpa.
Thank you for being there, for all you got. Congratulations.
So I get to give you your star, but what you get to do is you get to place it the choice of where you're gonna sit it, right? Oh, the choice, no, I know. Congratulations. Good luck. All right, we're gonna take some pictures.
You, and we'll stand right here by the wall. So everybody come on over.
Oh, yeah, there's no.
Bring that red thing.
There you go, they're right here.
Squeeze in there wherever you want.
Squeeze it, squeeze it.
All right, you can play over here.
Good job, Kate.
Exactly.
Yeah.
All right. Squeeze it there. I'll cover this up.
There
There you go. Right. Ready, 1, 2.
Yeah, we both together in there. I know, right? Congratulations.
Good job.
So Trace and friends, you do not have to stay for the rest of the business meeting, including the staff. That's totally up to you. But thank you very much. I'm going to turn it over to the group that is presenting our health and wellness report tonight.
Good evening. There are a number of people that collaborated on tonight's report, and Don Benetti, our Director of Food Services, and I are the two that are actually presenting this evening. We have a couple policies, board policies as far as wellness that we would like to cover tonight. First off, I would like to pause on our promise statement. This statement talks about students being empowered to learn, and in order for that to happen, part of that is wellness and nutrition, and that's what you're going to hear tonight. Without those, some of those kind of things for these students, it makes it really hard to be able to focus in the actual classroom. And so that's what you're going to hear tonight. Not only student wellness and nutrition, but staff. That's just as important because our staff members are working with the students. And so we want to make sure that we're meeting the needs of both groups. First off, I just have a couple slides about the levy, reminders for everybody who was here. Our levy that we are running in February, as you know, the levy money that our district currently has is about 16% of our overall budget as a school district. There are a few areas that are highlighted for you on the slide as far as things that are covered within the current levy. That would be athletics, safety, especially certain safety positions that we have for a staff, and then also some staff individuals, including teachers, nurses, paraeducators, counselors, and those kind of positions. We also have some guidelines as far as what we can and can't do related to staff members and their roles as far as the current levy and our upcoming levy. So for us as staff members, we can be involved in promoting the upcoming levy outside of the school district day and off school property. You can see then on the right-hand side, it tells us that we can't be doing any campaigning during work hours or on school property. We also can provide a lot of information for our community and the voters that are out there to make sure that they have all the information that they need and that we're answering their questions. And then third one, we can remind people of upcoming deadlines related to the levy that is coming up. So 2 board policies. First off is policy 5515. This falls under personnel. The 5,000s relate to the personnel and the 66,700 relates more to overall management. First off, that first policy has to do with preventing and addressing traumatic stress for staff members. And that's really taking a look at the overall mental well health of our staff members. And then the 6700, that policy is regarding students and nutrition. But not only just nutrition relates to food services, but also what we are doing relating to health and physical education. And then especially at the younger ages for what types of physical activity that we are providing them throughout the school day. So first off, for the workplace secondary trauma, which is the policy under personnel, I wanted to define that for you. And so you can see that definition. We're really talking about compassion fatigue or burnout. Staff members have the opportunity to work with students every day, no matter their role, and they frequently will learn about a student's situation. And sometimes we have students that are in a hardship type case, things that they are going through. And as staff members learn that and try to support those students, they can become fatigued themselves and in some cases burnout. And that's part of what we have, the second part of the slide there, for Workforce Mental Health Committee. And that's what we focus on to try to look as far as our staff goes and what we can do to support them. So we have resources and supports that we share with them all the time, especially through email and our newsletters. And Evan's a great help to get some of that information out for us. That includes workshops, we have monthly calendars, and we also have what's called the Employee Assistance Program. And you might hear that called EAP as well. And I have a slide in just a little bit that I will explain that further. We also have different opportunities for staff where they can do their own self-assessments to see, maybe identifying what their struggles are, and then we will provide resources for once they have identified maybe a particular area. We also try every year to get some staff feedback because we want to know what the overall morale is of our staff and then be able to work with them on identifying a few areas that they would like to see improved. And so I'll be sharing some of that data with you tonight. Here is a list of our committee members. It is actually board policy and also a requirement with Office of Superintendent of Public Instruction that we have a staff committee like this. And one of the requirements is to have an administrator at a building level, elementary and secondary, district administrators, also having staff members at building levels, so having elementary staff classified and certificated as part of this committee. So you'll see we have a wide variety of staff for this particular committee. And then the Employee Assistance Program, again known as EAP. We have had this for several years, and so I thought you might be interested to see the data. When our program started, we had in 2021, 12 individual cases where people reached out for some resources. And you'll see it was about 1.7%. And then in 2022, we had 16 cases. And then 2023, 22 cases. So we are seeing an upswing as far as people accessing the resources. You might wonder, what really are the resources? What is provided? People can either call in or they can communicate online. And then there are some individuals through EAP that will provide them either a referral to have an outsourced, like a counselor or some other resources. And sometimes it can be solved with one particular phone call or an email, and they can get some answers that they are wanting. And then that would be the end of their particular case. On the slide, I included a number of topics, anger, anxiety, family parenting, there's legal counseling that is available, even relationships, home ownership. There's really a lot of opportunities for staff. And people don't realize that when I'm out sharing information about what is available, or if I'm talking to people on the phone that might be going through a hard situation. And so I remind them that they have this opportunity as far as being a staff member where they can get some of those resources. We also recently conducted a survey, and so 74% of the staff who took the survey felt that they were satisfied in their current position. And when we asked the question about overall staff morale, you can see 95% said that overall they feel there's a good morale at their particular work location. And then as far as the total percentage that took the survey, you'll see it was 25%. We have identified as a committee, once we looked at the results, 4 key areas that we would like to focus on for the rest of the school year. The first one would be, again, that EAP program and how we are advertising the resources for staff, making sure people are truly reading that information and know exactly what is available. One of the things we've talked about is even making sure we have posters up in staff rooms rather than just relying on an electronic means for people to get that information. A second one is a reminder about visibility of administrators, both at the building and district level. Third, how we're communicating information. And as you can imagine, in this day and age, we get so many things electronically that sometimes people get a little overwhelmed by that. And so just a good reminder about how we're communicating, and it ties back into that visibility part on number 2. And then the final one, appreciation and acknowledgement for the work that our staff are doing. And it doesn't matter the role that people are in. Sometimes there are hard days. Some days there are great opportunities. And so it just depends day by day with staff members, and we do very much appreciate all the work that people put in. And so it's just a good reminder for us as administrators, both at district and building level, to make sure that we are acknowledging and appreciating the individuals who are working with our students on a daily basis. And then the second half of our presentation, Dawn.
So, we have a health and wellness, local health and wellness committee that meets 3 times a year, and these are the people that meet. So similarly, we have in-house, and we also have, parents of things and community members that join the health and wellness committee. And we are going over, what the current policy and procedures are and how it's being enacted at the school. So we've got people going out in each school, making sure that we're hitting the goals, or if some things need to be tweaked, we will work on tweaking it. Nutrition as a wellness strategy. So the USDA standards for child nutrition, for breakfast and lunch, we make sure we're following it, we're meeting or exceeding that. We have fresh fruit and vegetable salad bars at all grade levels. We use commodity dollars to be able to purchase American grown fruit and vegetables year round. So if it's not locally grown right here in the middle of winter, we can get strawberries and whatnot from California and some of these other places. Menu plans. We're using the menu plans to meet the nutritional requirements, and each one's set by grade level. So you've got calories and fats and sugars. So all of those per each thing is broken K5, 6, 8, 9, 12. Average over the week. We serve 80% of our grains are whole grains. We're currently meeting the sodium requirements, and there's proposed changes on the way. There's a 10% reduction, continue every 2 years through 27 and 29. And currently we are meeting the one that started up in 23 July of this year. We also are not only meeting that, but we are meeting proposed for next year. So we're already ahead of the game on those. This reduction going through is giving the manufacturers time to reformulate some of the foods that they're doing and lowering sodium levels so we can meet those following years coming up. as a nutrition as a health strategy. Good nutrition is what you need to fuel your body and get through. Helps your mind work. Kids do better if they're eating breakfast, getting good nutrition, not overweight, not underweight. So we're trying to hit all of those there. It's going to help with neurological conditions such as autism spectrum disorder or ADHD. It builds a culture of healthy eating is particularly important for students to knock down chronic health conditions like diabetes, asthma. Elementary snack committee talked a little bit about that before. That's a subgroup of our committee, and they're going out and they're looking at allergen aware schools. It's very hard to be peanut free completely in a school because you can't stop parents from feeding their kids peanuts. But if we're allergen aware and we see something that may have a reaction, knowing how to use EpiPens, knowing how to react quickly, optimizing break times for social emotional learning time. Physical activity among students is a wellness strategy. Elementary, middle, and high, all the requirements are being met through PE. There's electives of yoga for morning meetings, volleyball, elective powerlifting club, running club, cut and non-cut sports. We have community partnerships with the YMCA, with swimming and with childcare. We have food bank and they do a weekend backpack program. So parents that are in the low income categories can apply to be on that, and with the kid on a Friday, they'll get a backpack to be able to take home for Saturday and Sunday so that they don't miss meals through the weekend. Christmas house is through the food bank also, and that's so that we can get gifts for kids that are in need. And Operation School Bell helps clothing support for those kids, so we can make sure that they've got warm coats for winter and school clothes and whatnot. Any questions?
I have a question.
Yeah.
I know we talked about sodium a little bit. Are we doing anything around dyes or anything like that? Because I know that's also an issue with some of our students on the spectrum and how they.
So we aren't doing any added dyes. Some of our cereals are used, the coloring in the cereals is natural coloring. It's not food coloring. They're using beets and whatnot to get some of those colors. So yeah, we are watching that in what we're doing.
What are cut and non-cut sports?
Good question. Who wrote that one?
I can totally answer that. Especially at the high school level, some sports, for example, basketball, you only have so many people on a team, and you might have 40 or 50 individuals turn out, but when you look at your actual team, 5 students are on the court at a time. Is that right? Just double checking. And so we don't have spots for everybody who might try out. We do have some sports that are a non-cut sport, such as cross country, track, and swim, just as a few examples.
Thank you.
To comment there personally, in my junior high school, I was a short, uncoordinated, lightweight nerd. And I did everything, football, basketball, because that's where they did teams. And I think that was, yeah, I did that too.
Any other questions for Dawn? Don't have any questions for Dawn. I do have a question for Christine.
Okay.
So you said you guys had 25% participation in the survey?
Yes.
That's just across all of our staff, only 25%?
Yes, for this particular survey, the classified group and the non-represented group, which are staff typically here at the district office, are considered non-representative. And then administrators, those 3 groups took the survey. And out of all of those staff members, 25% is what who actually took it.
Okay, what did we do to sort of promote that survey, or do we have something in mind to get better participation? Because 25%, right?
We actually, Kelly is not here, but we had an increase over last year with how many took the survey. We sent information out to staff through their email, and majority of the buildings had the information in their SMOR for the staff that went out. And there was a code, very specific for every work area, so a building or department had their own code to get into the survey, and it was an anonymous survey as well.
Okay, how much time do you guys give to fill the survey?
This was completely voluntary, so there was not time given during the workday for staff members to take that. And we really tried to keep the number of questions down. I believe there were 7 questions on this particular survey. The one we gave last year had a lot more questions, and that was one of the things the committee learned, that if you're going to have higher percentage of staff participate, we needed to make sure we had very clear questions and only a few questions for them to answer.
I was actually my timeline was more about how long was the survey open for them to participate?
We had the survey open initially for 2 weeks, and when we reassessed as far as the percent of staff who had completed it, we opened it back up for another week and a half, so almost a whole month.
Okay, and that was in December, or was that like?
We started right after Thanksgiving, and then had it open for almost a month.
That was classified in the non-represented,
Yes, and building and district administrators.
but it didn't include certificate.
Correct. We work with every association that we have, so such as the PSE for classified and SEA for certificated, and get their approval when we go to send a survey out. Because sometimes there might be questions that pertain to maybe something in their work area that might be an area that is bargained. And so every association, their officers like to look at their survey and give that approval before we send it out.
Teachers union did not want us to survey the members. That's the short answer. Which is their right. Yeah. All right, thank you very much. I appreciate that. All right, well, we're gonna keep on moving. We have our capital projects update. And I'm not sure who's gonna get it, I think, Ruth?
Good evening. We'd like to provide you with a capital projects update today. First, I'd like to highlight in our promise, Empowered to Learn, school buildings play an important role in creating conducive learning environments for our students. And then on the next slide, looking at our equity statement. Control. Capital projects helps to ensure that our students and staff have the resources that they need. And the buildings just provide that setting so that they can learn and grow and teach well. I'd like to right now invite Jeff Silverman to come up. He is our capital project specialist. I'd like to introduce him to you.
Hello.
And he'll provide an overview of the projects that we have recently completed. And then I'll come back for a slide, and then Mr. Obanel will finish us off. So, thank you.
Hello, everyone. Good to meet you. I guess not in a group. Oh, do I get a clicker or are you gonna click it? All right, I figured out how to work. Okay. There we go. Okay, so we're gonna start with Cedar Home Elementary. We did some fencing project, or this is a fencing project we did. This was to control the northern access to the main parking lot. This is all about safety and security. It's something that we're doing district-wide, and this is just one of the steps. So pretty simple little project, but needed. So here at Cedar Home and Fort Susan, we did an ADA compliance project. This is to, basically gain access to the facility without, having to open up the doors and whatnot. So This is a newer product because it's touchless. It's something that COVID pretty much expedited, throughout our district ever since 2019. So there we go. So in an effort to improve energy efficiency, we started working on Stanwood Middle School. This is a window project. We've done approximately just under half of the windows there. These are triple pane and they're energy efficient, and it's something we're gonna need for our energy compliance with the state. We were able to get blinds on the entire front of the building for security and, you know, just to keep the prying eyes at bay. So, it's an ongoing project and we'll continue on with the blinds. Stanwood Middle School, gym floor and new bleachers. If anyone has gotten a chance to look at this, it looks great. The flooring project was done very economically and, they did a great job. The bleachers, they're standard Hussey bleachers and they will provide us many years of service. We've had these at the Bellevue School District where I'm from and, had very little problem with them.
That's nice of them.
Oh, yes, much nicer. Absolutely.
They're metal.
Yes, they are. They are metal and plastic. Not wood, not as homely, but still, it's awesome. So here's the boiler replacements we did this year. We had some out at Elder Bay earlier in the year in January. We commenced with that one. This summer, we had Fort Susan and the Cedar Home Elementary. Cedar Home getting 2 new boilers and Fort Susan getting 3. These are complete, they're operational. We just have a few punch list items to wrap these projects up. But there's for energy efficiency as well. So this is an ongoing project. This is the dry sprinkler systems at Elder Bay and Utsalati. They have a leak, but we're addressing it at this point. We have pretty much got to the point where we're scheduling to have the lines cambered and we'll have a report on what needs to be replaced and what can stay. So that's ongoing and scheduling is commencing within a couple of weeks. And I believe I am done. Okay.
Can I ask a real quick question?
Yes.
On those touchless ADA compliant, they still require like the security to be like buzzed in or a fob or some sort of.
Yeah, you're to wave that badge in front of that.
Got
However, I believe that in normal, regular business hours, I will have to check with that. Because it's my understanding that you're to provide access, you know, kind of like all the time, but I will find out.
Yeah, because just like at our front door, you have to buzz.
No, I
to-
totally get
yeah.
that, and it totally makes sense, but.
You do wave, it triggers the office pushes a button and that's it.
Okay,
Okay.
thank you.
Thank you.
very much. Okay, that
Yes,
clarifies everything.
perfect, I appreciate it.
Okay, yes.
I also mentioned in Osalati and Elder Bay, dry sprinkler project.
Dry sprinkler
What are
project.
they, and how's that connect to the problems we've had?
Well, I know that essentially, you know, you have your wet and your dry sprinkler systems. The dry sprinkler system is basically for the canopies outside, the covered areas, that we basically still have to sprinkle, but, essentially because they're exposed to the elements, we have to put them in a dry pipe and keep them pressurized. The problem is that the dry pipe is deteriorating. And so this pressurization, it pretty much gives us a giveaway because we can see the pressure in the pipe drop. And this tells us there's a leak in the pipe. So we're having a lot of leaks and that's why we're replacing these lines.
But it's separate from the leaks that we've had over the past couple of days, separate system.
Oh, yes, totally separate system. Yes, it doesn't have to do necessarily with the water. These are actually dry pipes that fill with water in the event of emergency. So, yeah.
And also, you mentioned getting cameras on the problem areas. Tell me more about.
So what we have to do is we have to open this line up and we have to get a video camera in there and basically scope the line to its end, or at least the areas that we're having trouble. By doing so, this will tell us what condition the pipe is in on the inside, how much rusting is occurring, and it'll show you where the low spots are. when the water settles, sometimes these pipes weren't installed correctly. And so they're not continuously at a downgrade. They have some low spots sometimes. When the water gets in there, condensates and settles, it stays there and deteriorates the pipe. So we're basically going to have to replace the sections of pipe where that's occurring. We're gonna look into another system that allows it to actually stay in good condition through a gas system, but that's to be determined. And we could use nitrogen, but that's a very expensive process, and we would rather use something else that doesn't require so much maintenance. So. Thank you.
The district has done well, stretching, its limited resources for the projects that Jeff described and other projects, the bond projects and throughout, the last, many years of the district providing, the community with new, buildings and, maintaining our buildings and so on. And so there will be remaining funds, as you can see on the slide, available for additional projects coming forward. And Mr. Obenel will go over the list of initial projects that we're recommending based on input from our CFAC, Community Facilities Advisory Committee. And as funds are available, we would also be able to entertain additional ones. But for now, he'll go over the list of ones that we are recommending for your approval tonight.
Thank you. So, to make sure everyone knows the acronym CFAC, Community Facilities Advisory Committee, sometimes called Capital Facilities as it relates to that. So I'd like to highlight a few of the processes we've gone through. Some of you know very well what the processes are, because you've been in attendance. The CFAC has shifted its focus this year from our rebounding attendance areas last year to really looking at what we can do to maximize the funds we still have remaining. And so we studied the needs that were highlighted by the principals, were prioritized by principals and the actual former facilities group, and reprioritized those over 3 meetings, really. We went out first to the group. They said, we really need more information. So we came back and said, and gave more information, and then went through we call it a value voting process, which you can see some pictures of here to help to identify within the group what were the areas that should be highlighted and brought back for recommendation. So in doing that, just to say, really, it surrounded things that we needed to do, like roofs, and then safety, and it boiled down to that. And you can see the list on the right-hand side is a not prioritized list, but a list of the projects that were identified that we would like to be able to do with the remaining funds. And you can see that almost exclusively, minus the Cedar Home roof and the potential for the transportation parking lot, relates to safety. I'm going to talk in just a minute about the projects in which you see on the agenda tonight that require us to go out to bid. The other projects, if we anticipate them being less than $100,000, we'll use the small works process for and moving forward. So the next step that we will take care of is receiving quotes or bids to ensure that the projects are financially feasible. And that'll be on all projects. I'm going to highlight a couple of those right now. These are 3 schools, and just showing the need for blind replacement. There's a couple things that we notice when we go into the schools that need blind replacement. A, they have the dangling cords, which are a danger, and B, they are not functioning. And that's a safety aspect that we want to make sure that we take care of. Of course, the new high school, Church Creek campus, and the windows that have been completed in Stanwood Middle School won't need it. The rest of the district will be in that bid moving forward. Fencing needs, just some aerial views of Eldred Bay Elementary and the fencing needs. It's indicative of the other sites as well, but it is to, I want to say prohibit access, and I hope it would be prohibit, whether they're a 4-foot fence or a 6-foot fence, or some visibility fencing that's slated at Stanwood Elementary, Church, Twin City as well. But the fencing is obviously a safety aspect as well.
Just to, not to interrupt, but just sort of interrupt, one of the things at Elder Bay that we talked about was the vandalism damage, from people driving on the field too, right? So this is not just a safety thing, but also like a thwarting vandalism sort of thing too, right?
Right, that's a good point. Not only at Elder Bay, at Port Susan as well, where we expect to have fencing, keep the cars in the places they should stay.
Can I also ask a question about that? Is that gonna limit access for the public to be able to use the playground during, like on weekends and after school hours and the play field and that?
No, it won't. It'll be similar to our high school campus right now where there'll be access. In fact, we have, at Port Susan, we have, fencing on both the west and east end, leading to the YMCA and over to the Fox Hill neighborhood. We allow access, during the non-school hours. Our custodial staff actually goes and unlocks it. And then when school starts, we go and, lock that as well. So it's a similar practice that's ongoing, with the new fencing actually at Cedar Home right now. So looking forward into the next 12 months and then 24 months, the projects that are anticipated on the left-hand side for the summer, this summer, and are on the agenda to have a request for bid to go out include blinds, the fencing that we've identified, the Port Susan Middle School fire system, some security cameras, speakers, and intercom as well at Stanwood Elementary. The Port Susan Middle School fire system, you may have a question about that. That is actually the actual fire detection system that is now out of date and we need to replace now while we have capital funds. It's expensive to do.
It's no longer serviced, right?
Still in service right now.
No, I mean like the company no longer services.
The company is, yes, it's obsolete,
Yeah,
so we
okay.
can't get parts.
Yeah.
We have to harvest parts from places we can, I should say that. And then, if and when we still have funds available, we hope to replace the Cedar Home roof first. We had an assessment of all our roofs in the district, and that is priority number one. Our island school roofs actually came back from the assessment better than we thought. So that gave us some comfort, I guess. The Cedar Home roof would be priority. We do need to make some adjustments to the transportation parking lot. And then we can identify other projects if funds still remain. But before we get to questions, I'd like to just do a quick update on where we're at now with regard to our facilities and the damage from the freezing. We have domestic water back on in all of our buildings, except for Upsalati Elementary. One of the reasons that we will be closed tomorrow. We're finishing that. We have confidence that will take place tomorrow. But all domestic water is back on. We're making repairs in plumbing across the other 4 buildings, I will say, Upsalati, Elgin Bay, Port Susan, and Stanwood Middle School is actually complete now. So those adjustments have been made. We're continuing the mitigation and the drying process. I think the pictures from Upsalati are all over the western Washington. And that will continue at both Upsalati and Elgin Bay, likely while students are in until we get to a proper drying percentage in the areas that were wet. And then we anticipate that the warm weather that's coming will help us to move out of our cold weather protocol that we have in place right now, and allow us to heat the building and dry those spaces out more effectively.
You mentioned the Cedar Hall roof.
Yes.
A lot of work replacement, and any particular reason that particular school needs it, the other ones don't. In other words, is it much older than the others or something else?
Not much older, it is older, but just, I'm not sure why necessarily the island schools would have held up exponentially longer, and I don't think it's exponentially longer, but, it is an older building.
Any questions? So while I appreciate the work of CPAC, obviously, does the damages and the repairs needed, does that sort of change our plans for that CPAC money, or maybe move things around?
Yeah.
Or is that coming from, is that a 2024, 2025 problem that we tackle then?
Really good question, and I also appreciate the work of CPAC. I appreciate you bringing that up, because really, we rely on our community, for input, for absolutely the work we did last year and the work that's happening right now, both in our community budget advisory committee and CPAC itself, so thanks for that. The mitigation processes will likely be covered through our risk management pool and insurance. We have to have some conversations about how do we keep this from happening? Even when we have record lows. We know what the buildings are rated for and what they're built for. And those temperatures were exceeded this time. But, how do we keep, learning from being disrupted and, the cost of the damage? So it will be a conversation.
Okay,
Yeah,
thank you.
thanks.
And just thank you to Director Evans, who serves on that CPAC committee as well.
Also, on the insurance coverage, is there potential then with big climate to have the insurance rate go up? And we put better measures to help to keep that from happening.
Yes, there is a potential for the rates to go up, because of the claims, but I think that it has more to do with the pool as a whole. And we aren't the only ones who have had these issues. You've probably seen other school districts as well, who are also in our pool. And so, even if this hadn't happened to us, rates may have gone up because other buildings, had similar events happen due to cold weather. And as far as, preventative, they do look at, what districts do in order for our cold weather protocols, and we have reviewed those with them, and they seemed pleased with our plan. So, I think there is always that ability to improve, and we will do so where we find that we can.
Thank you. Appreciate all three of you presenting. One last item on the superintendent's report tonight, and that is that it is School Board Recognition Month. And so the governor's office has a proclamation to note that, and I would like to read that to you. So, whereas the mission of Washington's public school system is to ensure that all students achieve at high levels and possess the knowledge and skills to be responsible members of a democratic society and enjoy productive and satisfying lives. And whereas Washington's 1,477 locally elected school board of directors and 9 elected ESD boards are the core of public education governance system in our state and serve more than 1.1 million students and have a combined annual budget of over $15 billion and collectively employ approximately 120,000 people across the state. And whereas school boards play a crucial role in promoting student learning and achievement by creating a vision, establishing policies and budgets, and setting clear standards of accountability for all. And whereas school board directors are directly accountable to residents in their districts and regions, serving as a vital link between members of the community and their schools. And whereas school boards and ESDs provide a passionate voice of advocacy for public schools and welfare of children. And whereas it is important to recognize school board directors as outstanding public servants and champions for public education. Now therefore, I, Jay Inslee, Governor of the State of Washington, do hereby proclaim January of 2024 as School Board Recognition Month. So thank you very much for your service. education. You can roll on your refrigerators.
Yeah, thanks for all the whereas.
And that concludes the report tonight.
Thank you, Dr. Rumpel. It is time for the consent agenda. Board members, are there any items on the consent agenda that you would like to pull and discuss?
So, the whole bills regarding voucher 2.3035, we will need $28.
Okay. Pull that one.
The bills and bills.
At this time, anyone in the audience may speak to any items specific to the consent agenda. Is there anyone that would like to speak to an item on the consent agenda? Not seeing anyone online or in the audience. So, is there a motion to approve the consent agenda items for January? For this meeting, the regular board meeting, or items number 1 through 17. 1 through 17, is there a motion to approve those? Moved by Director Evans and seconded by Director Foster. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed say no. That part, 1 through 17, has been approved unanimously. Is there a motion to approve the bills and payrolls? Item 18.
I believe you need to take out the part where he, like, the one warrant, right?
Okay,
Open for discussion. Yeah.
so we'll take a motion to approve the bills and payrolls minus warrant number 243035, payable to Steve King for $28.
So,
Moved by Director Evans,
I can.
seconded by Director Murray. All those in favor of approving item 18 with that one exception, that warrant, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, say no. Okay, now we will have a motion to retain a motion for voucher 243035, payable Steve King, $28.
So,
Okay, moved by Director Evans, seconded by Director Murray. And all those in favor say aye. All opposed say no. And for the record, Director King has abstained from that vote. Public comment, there was none by the 4 o'clock deadline today. Topics scheduled for school board discussion. We have a lot of first readings here on policy. Most of those are for the grammar police, where it said shall, which is in the first person. They replace that with will in the third person. Is there consensus to move 1 through 8 to a second reading? We just need consensus on that, so if there's no objection, we will move those 8 first readings on to a second reading. Student advisors report. Who would like to go first? Grace or Dee?
I'll go first. I'm Dee, and I'm the student advisor for Lincoln Hill High School. And last month on December 3rd, at Lincoln, we had a pancake breakfast. Sadly, I wasn't there, but I was happy to hear that some board members joined. If you didn't already know, one of our wonderful traditions at Lincoln was the pancake breakfast during advisory. Ingredients were donated by our booster club, and our amazing leadership team cooked up bacon, pancakes, and served toppings too. This tradition is a big part of our culture. All grades are included, and we spend this time sharing a meal as a community. Last month, we also had an open mic during advisory and lunch. During this event, we obviously like have school appropriate karaoke and stand-up comedy. All Lincoln students are allowed to participate with the approval of, our leadership, like ASB. And Mr. Mike, beforehand. And, you know, we love sharing laughs and singing together. So it's a great time at LHHS. And currently, we are getting ready for next month holiday, like Valentine's Day. The leadership team is working on, taking down old decor and setting up a new Valentine's Day decoration. And, as a leadership team, we also talked about starting a fundraiser, for like paper grants. They're called sweet notes. And, they would cost $1, and then the leadership team would sell a slip of paper to customize. And, yeah, it's a potential sweet note to it. Thank you.
All right, hi, my name is Grace Pacheco, and I'm the student advisor for Stanwood High School. Recently, as an ASB, we have been working on various different events and things, including our MLK assembly, which will be held tomorrow. We will have 2 assemblies. One will be seniors and sophomores, which will be held during second period, and then the other assembly will be juniors and freshmen. That will be during advisory and will be in the gymnasium as well. This Saturday, January 20th at 7:30 p.m. until 9:30 p.m. We'll be having a neon social after the boys basketball game. There will be snacks, drinks, and music, and it's just gonna be a place for students to go and have fun after the game. And it'll be free of cost for everyone who goes to the game. On February 2nd, we are planning a Groundhog's Day assembly during advisory. Matthew Mendez, it was his idea, and he's our president, so we did it. And it's just meant to be, well, it's meant just to be like a silly, goofy time for students to go and enjoy their time together, just for fun. And then later that week, our junior class officers have been planning, our annual Macho Volleyball Tournament. Signups will go from February 5th to February 15th. Practice will be held on February 20th and February 22nd. And the tournament will be on the 23rd in the SHS Gymnasium. And then, on February 24th, we'll be having a winter formal. The theme of this dance will be Under the Northern Lights. Doors will open at 6:30 and dance will start at 7. We will have concessions available as well. But we haven't officially announced when we'll be selling tickets, so that will be out soon. But if there's not any questions, that's the end of my report.
All right, thank you. Board directors report on school business. We'll now move on to the items brought up by board members. Director King, you have any comments?
Yeah, well, we had a listening session this morning at the Lutheran Church, that we're presenting on the levy. And by the way, the pastor there was against the levy a week ago. And I explained to him about why we didn't vote for the levy last time, because the same misunderstanding that was cleared up in the presentation. So I already had it cleared up for me. And also we're hoping to have a bigger one at the Baptist Church at 68th on a week of Friday.
Director Foster.
I did meet them at the YMCA. That we're doing a video, and it was really enlightening and fun. I wish there was more community involvement, but it's a pleasure. I think we went somewhere else, and I went to that pancake breakfast. That was really great. I visited some schools and had a wonderful experience with that, and I look forward to seeing some other ones in the story. Okay.
Director Evans.
I just, really would like to commend the work of the CFAC committee. Those conversations, I know it's a 10-minute, presentation here, but those committees, you can tell that the people part of them, really care, right? Like they're having good discussions, like Mr. Ovenall said, you know, they felt they needed more information. They're not in a rush to make a decision, but they do understand the need to push forward. So I think, again, just really commend them for all their work. Also like to commend our community members who braved the cold to support us this weekend. That was really cold outside. So anybody who took the time to come out and support the school district from the community this weekend, thank you for that. Yeah, we have a bunch of listening sessions coming up. So if anybody still has questions or concerns, please raise your hand so we can get you invited to an appropriate one. Thanks.
Thank you, Murray.
It's been a busy couple of weeks since our last board meeting. I attended the CBAC, not CFAC, which is the Budgetary Advisory Committee. And I've also sat in on the listening session with the Stanwood-Camano Booster Club. Had my equity meeting for the month, and we are well into the second week of the legislative session, so it's been very busy, and I have probably looked at at least 75 to 100 bills this last couple of weeks, and there's some good ones out there. Hopefully, some of it will help us in the future, but I will have more of a report once we get through the cutoff, because then we can really kind of focus in on what's really going to move forward during this session.
Everything I've read so far is really fast and furious. Is that an unprecedented number of bills actually out there just for a short session?
Yeah, and yeah, it's like drinking from the fire hose. And I'm very fortunate that WASDA does give us a lot of support in regards to letting us know what's coming down the line during the week. So I actually am headed to Olympia tomorrow and Thursday, partially to help lobby for the Dolly Parton Imagination Library, which we guys may know about. It supports 0 to 5 for early reading comprehension, and the state last year passed a bill to support that program, but we've had so many people interested in the program that the resources that the state originally gave us to work with for the year, we've already used them all. I believe in Snohomish County alone, we have signed up over 10,000 kids.
Yeah. Just make one note. I just want to point out that the work of our legislative rep during legislative season is significant. It can sometimes be up to an additional 20 hours a week. And whether the session is long or short, that's a lot. So, and I know that Charlotte actually does have a day job. So thank you for that commitment, because it is a lot. Sure.
Thank you. And I appreciate all the community involvement, CPAC, and our listening sessions. I had an opportunity to do some of those levy listening sessions there at the Y, and although not a lot of people turn out in person, there's a number of them online, and even a lot more that view the recording. Thanks to Evan for doing that. Had a chance to observe some of our sports teams. They're doing great. And I want to thank SCAP, our Stanwood-Camano Area Foundation. They did a nice presentation to our seniors in the high school during their assembly the other day about all the scholarships that are available. They've really streamlined that program to make it easy for the donors and easy for the students applying for those scholarships. And did get out with Director Foster to Stanwood Elementary there. Did that. And just want to extend my appreciation to all of the staff for the many hours you put in the last couple of days. Dr. Ryan, Dr. Rumball, and Mr. Overnell, Mr. Evan, Kevin Caldwell, and everybody else that worked tirelessly to get our schools open here. we are going to go into executive session to review the performance of a school district employee until we do it by 8:01. Okay, for about 35 minutes, we'll be back out at 8:00. So with that, we will take a short restroom break and retire to our executive session. The board has concluded their executive session. No decisions were made, and we are now adjourned at 8:00.